I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for February the 20th. Would you please join me in an invocation, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mr. Cundiff. Holy God, holy mighty, holy immortal, O Lord our God and Master of my life, deliver me from the spirit of laziness, meddling, ambition, and gossip. Give me, your servant, the spirit of prudence, humility, patience, and love. O Lord our God, grant that I may see my sins and faults and not judge my brother, for you alone are holy, and to you belong all glory, honor, and worship, now and forever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Please make sure that you have, if you have a cell phone or other device, that you have it on silent. And we ask that you treat the speakers with the same respect that you would want to be shown if you were speaking, and agree or disagree with the speaker. To my extreme left is our City Clerk, Rosemary Call.
Good evening.
Our City Attorney, Pam Aiken.
Good evening.
Councilmember Hoyt Hamilton.
Good evening.
Councilmember David Albrecht.
Good evening.
To my right, Councilmember Jay Poglaze.
Hello. Good evening.
Councilmember Bob Cundiff.
Hi, folks.
Our City Manager, Bill Horn.
Good evening.
And our Assistant City Manager, Micah Maxwell.
Good evening.
Our first order of business is to recognize our Employee of the Month for January 2020 from our Police Department, Ladrea Young.
Ladrea Young is the police department's most tenured and experienced records technician. Her primary responsibility is to oversee the uniform crime reporting and ensure the statistics are accurate and complete. This is a highly visible position, as the statistics are submitted to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the FBI for nationwide crime statistics. In addition to coordinating the scoring of over 2,000 criminal reports formatted into 12 different forms on a monthly basis, which are submitted to FDLE and FBI for nationwide publication. They are also used to notify command staff of violent and property crime trends and those resolved. There are hundreds of data points to compile and evaluate for accuracy. This requires scrutiny of the details and partnership with detectives. In addition to the UCR submissions, she also trains new hires and provides refresher training to all team members without hesitation. Her ability to manage the workload and teamwork are deserving of this recognition. Congratulations, Ladrea, on this much-deserved award, Senior Police Records Clerk, January 2020, Employee of the Month.
Council, I'm going to call forward now Sue Bedry from the Tampa Bay Times for the Newspaper in Education proclamation. I almost wanted to say the St. Petersburg Times. Hi. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Good to see you. Okay. Whereas research reveals that the best way to help children discover the joy of reading, which leads to their becoming lifelong readers and engaged citizens, is to involve them early in reading. And whereas helping children learn and love to read improves their chances for success in school and throughout their lives. And whereas Newspaper in Education is an international program that encourages the use of the daily newspaper as a living textbook for students from primary through adult education levels. And whereas for more than 40 years, the Tampa Bay Times newspaper and education program has served educators, students, and families by providing classroom newspapers, companion materials, and instructional support. Now, therefore, I, George N. Craddock, as Mayor of the City of Clearwater, on behalf of the Clearwater City Council, do hereby proclaim March the 2nd through the 6th, 2020, to be Newspaper and Education Week in Clearwater. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so very much. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? If so, please come forward at this time. You would have 3 minutes to speak, and we would ask that you have a card filled out.
Hi, I'm Mark Bunker. I wasn't expecting to speak, but I just wanted to give stand up and let you know how I and many other people around the world, actually, not just in the community, appreciate the Tampa Bay Times and the excellent coverage they've done over the decades on the Church of Scientology's impact on Clearwater. From the days of Tom Tobin and Deborah O'Neill till now with Tracy McManus, they have done a superb job of telling the folks of Clearwater what they need to know. I just wanted to thank them for that. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to an item not on the agenda?
I'm Mr. Haluba.
Have you filled out a card, sir?
I'm going to revisit this civics lesson that you, Mr. Hamilton, attempted to give me. And I just want to point out that one great thing that we have going for us as citizens and the public in general is the Open Records Act. And as you know, I was critical of this mediation settlement agreement, this avoidance of a lawsuit that Mr. Hamilton said, you know, hey, some of these things need to be done, you know, quietly. I disagree. And I would, Mr. Hamilton, can you look at me when I'm speaking to you? Again, where is the transparency? You sit there and say that certain items there shouldn't be any transparency. It's better off the public doesn't know. You don't want to spend the time being transparent. Where's the accountability? Now there's that mediation agreement that Dick Hall, whatever his name is, did, and it looks like a fourth grader did it. It's sloppy, it's got strikeouts, it's not completely typed out, and anybody with the city, especially you, Ms. Aiken, should be ashamed of that. It looks like something a child did. I would think that, you know, City of Clearwater has better standards than that. But, you know, usually I'm wrong. You know, again, this was illegal actions by Clearwater Police, not even, you know, completely out of bounds in Largo that resulted in this mediation agreement. And I just want to, you know, reiterate that Mr. Hamilton apparently doesn't have the time to or the desire to want to bring these things out in public. He'd rather hide them, have them under the doormat, you know. It's not right, sir. This was a case of, you know, really government overreach. And I don't know how you can better, you know, define it than the police department operating in the next municipality over. let's not forget, primary law enforcement in this county and in this city and in this room is Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, not all these people in blue standing behind us.
Thank you, sir. Is anybody else from the public wishing to speak to an item not on the agenda? If not, I will close public comment.
Rush down here. Don't anybody tell my
You
wife
filled
I
out a
came.
card?
I will. I came like this. She's out of town. I just rushed from work. My name is Mike Reardon. I just drove the gauntlet, Mr. Mayor, Drew Street. I just wanted to come down and I don't think I'll even be, I think I'll be on vacation when this council wraps up in middle of March after the elections. But I want to say how much I appreciate Mayor Kretikos, Councilmember Hamilton, Councilman Polglaze, Councilman McCundiff, who I guess is on the bubble, might be back, and of course David Albritton, who I've known, Councilman Albritton, who I've known for a while. There's going to be a lot of accolades and appreciation, but I don't think people realize how much hassle and grief that council members take. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. You're always going to be making somebody happy and somebody upset. I'm getting emotional, but I appreciate it. I'm not shy about voicing my opinion. It seems like Mayor Kretikos and I are either passionately on one side together or passionately against each other. But, of course, Mr. Horn and staff over here, Miss Aiken, who I ambush in the Publix grocery store when I see her.
Yes, he does.
But you guys do a great job. I appreciate it. If I've said anything, I didn't mean it personally. Jay, when I was pushing hard for Carlin, nothing against you. I just was trying to get a gal up here. But you all do a great job. You're not well paid for it, but you do a good job. So thank you. I'm going to go home.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to an item not on the agenda? If not, I will close public comment. I notice that Rabbi Weissman is here from Congregation Beth Shalom. So, Rabbi, even though we've had an invocation, I think we probably need a second one from so would you please come forward, please, sir? Rabbi David Weissman from Congregation Beth Shalom.
Thank you all for putting up with the traffic, just as we all have to do a little bit. I think we just had an invocation just a minute ago. It's one of gratitude, and it's something that at the beginning of these kinds of meetings we have to realize the kind of service that people give to the community. And it's something that you have to dig a little deep sometime to bring out the strength and the patience to be able to hear some people who are not really on your side or critical. And so we ask our Creator, our God, to be able to open our hearts in times of disagreement in order to be able to hear the other, even in their moment of distraught. This is holy work, and we sanctify this work for the sake of our people, our community, because in the end, we all are trying to make our community better, and any improvement in any small incremental way is one step forward. We don't fool ourselves that sometimes it's a grind, and trying to move forward is a burden. And so we look to each other as well for support and for those kinds of recognitions that we just heard a moment ago to give us that strength to remember why we're here, why we serve, and that our community will be much better day one. One for it. I'm going to say amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. Council, are there any addition or corrections to the minutes of February the 6th?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of February the 6th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Council, the consent agenda is items 7.1 through 7.9. Anybody from the council or public wishing to pull an item off the consent agenda, items 7.1 through 7.9? What item do you wish to pull, sir?
I believe that all of these items regarding the Clearwater Police have not been thoroughly vetted.
Which items do you wish to pull, sir?
Well, you have changed the item numbers since I did my notes, so item 7.2, the bicycle business. Item 7.3, the $349,000 for Millennial Products for real-time communication. Everyone should know you
Sir,
don't.
we're only asking for the numbers that you wish to
Okay.
have pulled.
All right, well, there needs to be more work done on these.
So it's 7.2 and 7.3. Any others?
7.4.
7.4.
There was one on here about give me just a second. There was one on here about the I don't even see it. Bear with me, you changed all the numbers up. I don't see it. There was one on there about COLA adjustment.
Yeah, that's later.
That's not on the consent agenda.
All right, very good
Okay.
then.
Right, so we're pulling 7.2, 7.3, and 7.4.
Move approval of agenda items 7.1 and 7.5 through 7.9.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda items 7.1, 7.5 through 7.9. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 7.2, Mr. Horn.
Thank you, Mayor. Approve amendment number 1 to the letter of agreement and contract with University of North Florida Training and Services Institute, Inc., DBA Institute of Police Technology and Management, High Visibility Enforcement for Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Grant Award, to accept an additional grant award of $40,000 for police overtime and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Chief Slaughter.
Chief Daniel Slaughter with the Police Department. This is an amendment to an agreement that was originally approved on October 3rd of 2019. The council approved the grant agreement with the University of North Florida Training and Service Institute for Phase 7 of the Florida statewide pedestrian and bicycle safety project. This program has officers on overtime doing pedestrian and bicycle safety enforcement at high visibility locations at intersections and roadways that are selected from an analysis of crash data. The police department on January 14th was invited to apply for an additional $40,000 in funding, which would bring the total to $80,000 in funding. And we're requesting council approve the amendment to accept that additional $40,000. More than happy to answer your questions.
Any questions of staff on 7.2? Mr. Poglaze.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a grant. This is not citizen taxpayer dollars. This is a grant that comes in to increase bicycle safety for all.
Yeah, it could be citizens taxpayer dollars through the state, but it is, I don't know the actual source, but it is not Clearwater tax revenue.
That's, okay, thank you. That's what I was asking.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 7.2?
you all, but I get tired of this man
Sir,
coming up
could,
here.
could we have your name, sir, and
My
have you
name is
filled out
Mr.
a card?
Haluba, Mr.
Yes.
Creticos. That is not what he said the other day, which is why I got upset. Where is this overtime money coming from? He didn't answer that. He says it's coming from the state, but it says accept an additional grant award for police overtime. So was all that money coming from the state?
Sir, you ask the questions of us, or you make your statements to us?
I asked a question.
Well,
I'm looking right at you.
okay, and I'm looking right at you. The chief answered Mr. Poglace's question that it was a grant coming from the state.
I don't necessarily believe it, given the source. Would you like me just to stay nearby? I can do that.
Yes.
Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to agenda item 7.2? Motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 7.2.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 7.2. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 7.3.
Authorize a purchase order to Millennium Products, Inc. of St. Petersburg, Florida for a real-time crime center package in an amount not to exceed $349,000 pursuant to City Code of Ordinances, Section 2.564D, other government entities bids, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Chief Slaughter again.
Chief Slaughter, the Police Department. The Police Department seeks to establish a real-time crime center to further the City Council's strategic direction. The real-time crime centers provide law enforcement with the ability to capitalize on a wide and expanding range of technologies for the efficient and effective policing. The department currently has a vast amount of data and information that can be difficult to manage in real time. The purchase seeks to provide the department with the technology and the structure to use information currently available for better situational awareness and the prevention of crime. Real-time crime centers have been widely used in law enforcement for about 15 years. We have been researching this project for some time and have visited 6 real-time crime centers currently operating in Florida and studied many others around the country and the world. The Millennium Products Real-Time Crime Center package provides the department the tools it needs to create the center and includes products that we have learned to be useful from our visiting of these other locations. It includes a visualization platform, video analytics software, hardware equipment, and the furniture to build out the real-time crime center. The cost of the package is not to exceed $349,000, and it will require a recurring cost or including a recurring cost of maintenance for approximately $60,000 a year that we will need to budget for in the future. And we did anticipate this purchase, and therefore we have funding available in the capital improvement project for police information systems. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, sir.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 7.3? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 7.3?
Everybody should know by now when
Excuse me,
you call
sir, may we have your name?
Mr. Haluba. I assume you're still Mr. Creticos. Everybody should be aware that in this county, when you dial 911, Clearwater Police don't answer. The county does. So I mean, I think real-time things are a good idea for primary law enforcement, which is the sheriff's department, and they very well may have this technology. I don't know. But there's no way it's going to be real-time anything because call has to go through the county first. So the things that he's saying just really don't ring true. And if they did, we would be talking again about government overreach, government abuse, totalitarianism, mass surveillance, progressive regimentation. I think he's been reading George Orwell. And I don't think that it's a good thing. And I would say that at least you 5 up there shouldn't be, broken, slot machines going, okay, to everything this man's requests financially. It's not necessary. And, right there, if we got rid of Clearwater Police, Better be $349,000, the city would say. Boom, right off the bat.
Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to agenda item 7.3? Motion?
Move approval of agenda item 7.3.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 7.3. Comments, council?
Yes.
Mr. Hamilton?
I know each of us got it, but I'd like to thank the chief and his staff that met with each one of us individually and gave us a very detailed layout and presentation on what this is capable of doing, what it will do to improve our law enforcement and their ability to do their jobs, and I would like to thank him for that.
And let me add, Mr. Hamilton, that he not only did it on our one-on-ones, he also did it when we had our work session.
Absolutely.
And discussed that and the work that the staff did to prepare for this agenda item. Any other comments, council? Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 7.4.
Approve a professional service agreement and design work order with Harvard Jolly Architecture Incorporated of St. Petersburg, Florida, for design of the Countryside Police Operations Center in the amount of $966,230, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Chief Slaughter.
Chief Slaughter, the Police Department. This item is the progression of the project to replace the District 3 Operations Center located at 2851 McMullen Booth Road. It was built in 1983, the current building, and its operational features and functional systems are obsolete by current standards, does not meet accessibility codes, and additionally, the primary purpose of the redesign is to redesign the facility is to provide the police department with a building that can withstand a Cat 5 hurricane to shelter our on-duty personnel during a hurricane deployment. For these reasons, replacement of the building was placed on the capital improvement plan by the council. In October 2019, a request for qualifications was issued seeking an architectural firm to design the replacement building. The city received 6 submissions, and a panel of 4 representatives from the police and engineering departments interviewed 3 of the 6 architectural firms, and they selected Harvard Jolly Architecture to design the replacement building. The work includes requirements for the design to include environmentally sustainable, high-performance systems, materials, and landscaping. It also includes conducting additional acoustic analysis for an additional sound mitigation to reduce noise from our adjacent gun range. And the design is anticipated to be completed by November 2020, and the city plans to procure a construction manager at risk to construct the substation and hopes to bring that selection to council in June of 2020. The cost of the agreement is $966,230, and the funding for this work order is available in the Capital Improvement Project Police District 3 Substation. And I'd be more than happy to any questions, and Mrs. Kivett, our engineering director, is here in case there's any engineering questions.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 7.4? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 7.4?
Daniel Haluba. Again, we have Mr. Slaughter begging for money for things that are really not necessary if we did away with Clearwater Police. And in this instance, it's nearly $1 million. I'm not saying that, it's just, incredible the amount of money that is spent on the Clearwater Police Department as a redundant department who's primarily, responsible for, how long somebody's grass is and support of code enforcement, whether there's a duck in your yard or not. That's what they do. That's what they're best at. That's really all they're supposed to be doing when we have a primary law enforcement entity here, and it's not them. I will say that, I think they could help in traffic areas, but Mr. Slaughter would have you believe that, the whole town is going to be a den of criminal activity if he doesn't get this money for these things, and it's just simply not true. Any of you that believe that, I don't think you would believe it in private, or else there's something seriously wrong. I mean, he's asking for this money. It's a lot of money for a lot of different things, and it's sketchy. It's just plain sketchy. It's money that doesn't need to be spent if we went another direction. And I think even he would admit that. So, you know, again, traffic, maybe there could be an increase in traffic, department. I mean, I think that's a decent assignment for Clearwater Police. I don't think Steve Wanos is doing a very good job at it.
Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to agenda item 7.4?
Mark Bunker. And I just wanted to give my support to the Clearwater Police Department, and I'm very happy they have at least one station that's going to be Cat 5. We really need that for our emergency personnel. I remember being at a meeting last fall where the city gave away $400,000 like that to an apartment complex so they could put awnings up outside their building. And to me, this is a much better use for public safety of our money. Thank you.
And you have a card that's filled out correct, Mr. Bunker?
He does.
Yeah. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to agenda item 7.4?
Move approval of agenda item 7.4.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 7.4. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 8.1.
Approve joint participation agreement JPA G1865 between the City of Clearwater and the State of Florida Department of Transportation. Adopt Resolution 20-01. Authorize a transfer from Air Park Fund reserves of $3,893 and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Chesney.
Ed Chesney, Marine and Aviation. As we discussed on Tuesday, this is a grant opportunity with the Department of Transportation to purchase some ground support equipment out at the air park.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 8.1? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 8.1?
Move to approve agenda item 8.1.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve agenda item 8.1. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Aiken.
Thank you.
Resolution number 20-01, a resolution of the City of Clearwater, Florida, authorizing the execution of a joint participation agreement between the City of Clearwater and the State of Florida Department of Transportation for ground support lawn equipment at the Clearwater Air Park, providing an effective date.
Motion to adopt resolution 20-01.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt resolution 20-01. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 8.2, Mr. Horn.
Amend Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Section 2.421, to reestablish a cost of living benefit for police officers and pass ordinance number 9380-20 on first reading. Ms. Poirier.
Good evening, Jennifer Poyer, Human Resources Director. Back in 2012, pension fund changes were collectively bargained between the city and the labor unions. The applicable changes to the pension fund that were applied to police officers who were not yet eligible to retire as of the date of the ordinance, which was January 1st of 2013, were as follows. The employee's pension contribution was increased from 8% to 10%. And the annual 1.5% COLA was eliminated on all pensionable earnings for years of service after the effective date. In 2019, at the request of the FOP, we began collectively bargaining for changes to the pension fund for police officers, and we were able to reach a tentative agreement in January of this year. The changes are as followed. The annual 1.5% COLA would be resumed for all police officers who are actively employed as of or after January 1st of 2020. Secondly, the resumption would include cost of living benefits on services earned from January 1st of 2013 through January 1st of 2020. Lastly, the COLA would only be paid after a 5-year delay. These proposed pension changes have been estimated by the city's actuary to cost the city approximately $1.36 million in the first year. In February of this year, the FOP did ratify the proposed changes that we discussed. And since the proposed changes have been mutually agreed upon, there is no requirement for a referendum. The cost associated with the city's contribution will be based on the annual actuarial analysis and will be included in subsequent budgets. I'm available to answer any questions, and there is a representative from the union as well.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 8.2? Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 8.2?
Daniel Paluba. Of course, the FOP requested this. They don't have citizens of Clearwater's well-being in mind. They only take care of themselves. And the fact that, Ms. Poirier says that there's, no need for a referendum. It was taken away by referendum, and the only fair and thing to do would be to have a referendum on this, to undo it. That's my opinion, and it's not, I don't think I'm the only one that feels that way. But of course, the Fraternal Order of Police is, wants $1.36 million. Again, get rid of the police department, there's another $1 million. So we're up to like $2.5 million we could undo right now just by tabling this and taking actions to undo Clearwater Police Department. Ms. Poirier, I was kind of disappointed because I was expecting you to at least address a little bit how this is going to be paid for. And from what I heard the other day, it's going to be paid for out of general funds, which is wrong. But that's tax money at very least. Tax money can be used for this. But then, incredibly, Jay Raven says, and we're going, this is a quote, and we're going to use all other enterprise funds. That's illegal. Enterprise funds, enterprise accounting is completely separate from tax money collected for things that taxes pay for, one of which is the Sheriff's Department, by the way. You cannot take money from supplying water or airport fees or golf fees or, in my case, reclaimed water fees that I, don't use, and use it to fund a cost of living increase for the police department. You can't do that. So I don't know where, you've got a real fabulous, director of finance.
Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to agenda item 8.2?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and the members of City Council. My name is Susie Ross, and I am a senior at SPC in the Public Policy and Administration Program. I'm here to speak on ordinance number 938020, the cost of living adjustment for police officers. In preparation for this, I reviewed the proposed ordinance, Chapter 185 of the Florida Statutes, GRS's November 26th letter and attachments regarding the scenarios and projections, GRS's February 14th letter regarding the actuarial impact statement and attachments, including the supplemental actuarial valuation report, and I also read the legislation details from the council work session of February 18th. As you know, but for the purposes of this meeting, Chapter 185 addresses the retirement plans for police officers and levies a 0.85% tax on all casualty insurance premiums written within the city limits of the participating plan. Clearwater has a local law plan that meets the minimum standards delineated in Chapter 185.35. Further funding is provided by employee contributions, employer contributions, and other revenue sources. Now, she has already spoken about the collective bargaining sessions, and what I wanted to express is that I'm not sure in 2012 how this particular time period of retirement was left off for the officers, but I'm very glad that they were able to fix it in 2019 because this would resume the COLA for all police officers who are actively employed on or after January 1st, 2020, And it includes resuming the COLA for their service earned between January 1st, 2013 and January 1st, 2020. Now, the cost to the city would seem to be quite high at first glance, but when you look at it from a financial perspective, it is a discounted present value cost over 30 years of only $18.1 million. And because we know that the budget controls everything, I noted that there's going to be an annual actuarial analysis regarding the city's contribution, and those costs will be included in future budgets as they should be. And as she noted, the Fraternal Order of Police has ratified the proposed changes, and because this is an agreement that's been reached between the parties, no referendum should be held on this. As a Clearwater citizen, I recommend that this ordinance, number 9380-20, be enacted because it's going to give and restore COLAs to more police officers, the first responders who serve our city well and are a necessary part of our government and our community. And I want to thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Have you filled out a card?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. Okay. What? Oh, okay. Anybody else from the public to speak to agenda item 8.2?
Hi, I'm Mark Bunker, and my understanding is that both the police department and the fire department had some cuts when times were rough after the economic collapse. I was surprised to find out, as I started talking to department heads, that there are police officers and firefighters in Clearwater who can't afford to live here. They have to commute to work here in our city. And it seems like our emergency responders need to be treated better than that. It's time that we made them whole, and I support that. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public to speak to agenda item 8.2?
My name's Morton Myers. I'm just here to show support for passing this. I think it's fair that they get their COLA back. If it was taken away when times were tough and we have money to spend, let's give it back to the guys that protect us all. Thank you.
Make sure you fill out a card, please. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to 8.2? If not, I will close public comment and ask for a motion to approve.
Move to approve agenda item 8.2.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve agenda item 8.2. Comments, council? Mr. Pogler.
Just a quick one. There was a comment Mr. Marty made that it was taken away from them. It wasn't. It was a negotiated item that everybody came to the table back when the big collapse of. So anyway, and we were happy to be able to negotiate again to be able to restore some of what they voluntarily gave up. Thank you.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Call.
Ordinance number 9380-20, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 3, Employees Pension Plan to reestablish a cost of living benefit for police officers, amending Section 2.421 of the City Code relating to the cost of living adjustments for police officers, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for severability, providing for a repealer, and providing for an effective date.
Move approval of ordinance 9380-20 on first reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pass ordinance 9380-20 on first reading. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Horn, do you have any other business for the council?
No, Mayor, I do not.
Ms. Aiken, do you have anything further for council?
No, sir.
Okay, closing comments, Mr. Cundiff.
Nothing, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Pogler.
Nothing, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Albritton.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Hamilton.
No, sir.
Want to remind everybody that our Crest Lake Park, we will have a groundbreaking on Friday, February the 21st, for the renovations for the park. The park will be closed during the renovations, but as the work is completed, it will gradually be reopened on a step-by-step basis. The 28th, February the 28th is the last day to register, or excuse me, February the 21st is the last day that teams can register for the Clearwater Spring 2020 men's Baseball League. On the 22nd and 23rd, Saturday and Sunday, we will be having the Clearwater Sea Blues Festival at Coachman Park. This is a free festival, although if you want a reserved seat, there is a small charge for that. On Sunday, the 23rd at 1:05 p.m., the Philadelphia Phillies will start its 74th year of spring training here in Clearwater. We're excited to have the Phillies back home in Clearwater and would encourage our fans and our residents to go out and support the Phillies at Spectrum Field. On Wednesday, the 26th, the last Wednesday of every month, is the free electronics recycling event. You can take any computer or cell phone or television to our solid waste complex on North Hercules Avenue, and it can be left there for them to recycle for you. On the 28th, Friday the 28th, John Waite will be in town for the Blast Friday in downtown Cleveland Street. We want to remind you that on March the 1st, the PSTA Park and Ride program begins. You will be able to park your vehicle here in Clearwater on the mainland and ride a PSTA bus to the beach. It will save you time and money. The trolleys will be running approximately every 30 minutes from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and every 15 minutes 10 a.m. to midnight on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Let me congratulate on behalf of the council Russ Kimball, who celebrated his 45th year as the general manager of the Sheraton Sand Key. The Sheraton opened on February the 19th, 1975. So 45 years ago. Want to thank our Parks and Recreation Department staff. The past couple of weekends, they have been very busy with the softball tournaments that have been going on at the Eddie Moore Complex. ESPN did a fantastic job of promoting Clearwater and showing off that complex and the long history that Clearwater has had with softball. We had the number 1 team in the country, the Washington Huskies here. We had the number 2 team, the UCLA Bruins. We had our own Florida State Seminoles, and it was an exciting tournament. I think the fans were pleased to be here, and the stadium was packed with visitors, and I appreciate the Times giving us lots of coverage on that. And finally, on a sad note, we were all, when a fellow colleague like John Maroney passes away, we're all sort of taken aback. John died last year, but his memory has gone on for a long time. The county rededicated its EMS service center in John's memory last week, and then on Saturday, our own Detective Eli Green was recognized at the Maroney First Responder Dinner, and so we want to thank him for his services. Again, another example of the outstanding work that the Clearwater Police Department does. And while some people may stick their tongues out at their police department, I know that our officers will provide those persons with the same kind of protection that they would provide somebody who pats them on the back. With that, we thank you for spending your time with us this evening, and we are adjourned.